Hi again, everybody, and welcome to another edition this week of our First Person here on PressProsMagazine.com, of course sponsored by the Buckeye Insurance Group as always, and the Coverman Dickerson Agency representing Buckeye and Troy, Pickwick, Covington, and St. Paris. Back to high school basketball this week with an emphasis particularly on the upcoming Pickwick Holiday Tournament sponsored by the Buckeye Insurance Group. Our guest this week is Roger Kraft, whose Buccaneers here at Covington High School happen to be the defending champions of that tournament. And before we get to that, and I do want to talk to them about that after the break, Roger, first of all, are you amazed that it's high school basketball season again? Because honest to goodness, we just said I'll see you over the summer at the state tournament last March. I don't know if we did or not, but it's here again.
Well, time flies when you're having fun. So
oh my!
Things have gone rather well, and things are going fast. So sometimes when things are going good, time flies. So
you know, I want to talk to you a little bit about a couple of topics relative to Division IV basketball. Your program here at Covington is Division IV, small school.
Or Division III, actually.
Well, Division III or Division IV, but Division IV for many, many years. But nonetheless, you're in that situation where when basketball season gets here, you have to borrow so many of your athletes from football. And that transition process, I believe, is one of the most difficult things in high school sports, because it's a different set of skills, it's a different set of muscles, everything is different about going from football to basketball. Talk about that for a minute and what the typical transition is like for coaches like you. You've been through this many, many, many years.
Yeah, well, obviously with the success of our football team, you know, basketball is a totally different sport, a lot of different skills, a lot of finesse involved, where they're coming off a sport where it takes a lot of strength and power and just plain aggressiveness. So a lot of times it takes us a while to get that aggressiveness out and trying to get the finesse part of the game of basketball that you need in order to be successful on a basketball court. But there is a transition period, so we feel like we're getting there. It just takes a while. So hopefully by tournament time we're really into it.
You know, one of the first things to suffer through that transition is the fact of shooting touch. And I know you had a particularly frustrating night the other night, because coming out of football to get into basketball and to get that touch to put the ball in the 18-inch ring, teams all over the state of Ohio suffer with that.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, especially at the small schools where most of your kids, you know, out of our 12 varsity kids, 11 of them played football. So that makes it very difficult. None of them were in the gym before November. Very rarely did they touch a ball since, you know, mid-July. Once 2 days hit, you know, they get into the football camps, and they're primarily football players. And obviously, you know, a school our size, we push our kids into those kind of sports. So it's not a situation we don't ask them to do. We want them to be in multiple sports.
There are so many schools like yours in your situation here where you have to borrow or you have to share athletes. You have to share athletes. How do you prepare your kids throughout the year? Because you know 11 of 12 are going to come out and play basketball. And again, they have to spend so much time throughout the spring and the summer preparing for football. It's a matter of lifting. It's a matter of, as you say, preparing for that particular physical regimen. How can they possibly play enough basketball to be ready to make the transition in 2 weeks?
Well, they don't. I mean, it just takes time. I mean, it takes time. You know, we don't get a preseason. We don't get any two-a-days. We don't get a bunch of time. It's just a transitional time. You do the best you can. We try to work it inside to where our kids are stronger than the other opponents normally. And we hopefully our perimeter game and all the finesse part of the game, the actual skills of, you know, being able to score off the dribble and doing those kind of things come later in the season. So early in the year we try to get the ball pounded inside, try to score around the basket more. Feel like we're physically probably one of the strongest teams in the area. So we try to do where our strengths are. So
and traditionally, that's what you're known for. You know, you and I have talked many times over the years about a variety of topics, and here's one coming up for next year when the basketball schedule in the state of Ohio expands to 22 games. I know you and I have talked about that before. There are some coaches that say, I love it because it gives us another gate, an opportunity, because we need the money for our budgets. Others say, hey, look, we have trouble getting 20 games in the way it is with ice and snow and some of the things that you have to fight. Tell me a little bit about what your feelings are about the proposed well, it's not proposed, it's going to be here.
It's a fact.
It's a fact now.
The athletic director in me likes it. Like you mentioned, the budget, and it's going to help us financially. It's going to get us some, one more gate and then 2 more gates with the girls doing the same thing. But the basketball coach in me voted no. So our school did vote against the proposal, or it's not a proposal. It's going to happen. Now we've chose to do things a little bit different. We've basically we're going to play Newton High School next year in a boys and a girls doubleheader. So our JVs will actually only play 21 games. So we'll kind of every other year kill 2 birds with 1 stone. It'll be one great big gate rather than, but it, they didn't lengthen the season. That was the first issue with us. That we're still got the same amount of games in a short period for a school like ourselves that typically is in the football playoffs, and past history shows that we've made it quite a few times, and it does put us behind 8 ball even more because it's 2 less practice days, and you throw a couple extra Tuesday games in there, and then on Monday you're not coming back in and you're not getting out to the things you really need to work on. You're talking about a scouting report or talking about, so you're not teaching the fundamentals like you need to be doing, especially early in the season.
Roger Kraft, the head basketball coach here at Covington High School. On this week's edition of First Person, we're going to come back and talk about the upcoming Buckeye Holiday Classic at Piqua High School. The defending champions happen to be, by the way, the Covington Buccaneers. We'll talk about more of that with Mr. Kraft right after this. Stay tuned.
The Covington Dickerson Agency, with offices in Troy, Piqua, and Covington, is pleased to be the sponsoring Buckeye Insurance Group agent for this first-person interview. For farm, auto, and homeowner insurance, Covington Dickerson is one of the area's fastest-growing Buckeye providers, with a history of service and competitive rates. And we're also an outstanding source of coverage for families with young drivers. For farm, auto, and home policies, call the Covington Dickerson Agency, proud to represent Buckeye Insurance Group.
Welcome again, everybody, to this week's edition of First Person with Roger Kraft, the head basketball coach at Covington High School. We mentioned before the break the fact of the holiday tournament coming up, sponsored for the 4th consecutive year, I think, by Buckeye Insurance Group. That has become a fixture in our area here, given the fact, and a very unique one too, right, given the fact that you got a Division I team hosting like Piqua and 3 Division III or 4 teams like Russia and Covington and Sidney Lehman. It makes for a very interesting ensemble,
right,
basketball ensemble.
Well, the teams are all local, and Piqua's the best at running tournaments because they have the sectional. It kind of comes natural to them. They know how to run a good tournament, and with the Buckeye being there helping, the insurance group,
right,
a great sponsor, they do a good job of running that whole tournament. Great atmosphere for the kids. Gives them, right between the holiday break, it gives them that tournament feel. Kind of gives you that, so when you're going to the sectional, it's not the first time you've been in a tournament atmosphere, or that tournament kind of pressure, and you're fighting for a trophy, so it gives them something to look forward to.
How much advantage, or what's it worth to your program, Roger? Let me put it that way. To be at this point of the season, you're going to have 4 or 5 games in by that time. To have something like a tournament, as you say, to kind of sharpen you up a little bit for January. You get into cross-county conference play at that point. But again, here's something, an ultra-competitive environment for you over the course of 2 days, and 3 pretty good basketball programs.
Yeah, fine basketball. It's great competition. That's what we like here anyway. So and then it's a tournament on top of that. That's anytime you can play a Piqua or a Rushi or a Lehman, and whichever one you get, it's going to be a great game. It's going to be great crowds. The kids look forward to that. That gives them something right during that holiday break when you've been in practice 6 or 7 weeks, and there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and it gives you a good measuring stick to know exactly where you are before you really get into the league schedule real deep.
And unique for the fact that 3 years and 3 different champions, Lehman,
yep,
Russia, Covington, and
right,
I guess Piqua's due, because
yep,
Piqua really struggled in this thing given the fact of their recent history, but certainly a lot of incentive going in there this year.
Right.
If you've seen them play, they are a different basketball team
I
this
have
year.
seen them play, and Coach Butler's got them playing. He's really got them playing with it. You can tell they really care about the pride of Piqua's back. So I think he's got them going in the right direction. So you can make the tournament more interesting.
You got an interesting stretch of games here between now and the cross-county conference play. In fact, cross-county conference play is already here. Miami East this week, as we talk about. There's some really good basketball. That conference may not get a lot of credit for football, But for basketball is concerned, when you talk about Twin Valley and Covington and Bethel and Miami East and certainly Franklin Monroe and
Sure.
and Brian Gunner's team at
Arcanum.
Arcanum the last couple of years,
Don't
on any given night.
Never leave out Tri-Village because
And never leave out Tri-Village.
They're going to be dynamite as well. So the basketball is very, very competitive. Any night, anybody can get anybody. It's going to be very well balanced. Obviously, going into the Miami East game, that's a huge game. It's right here local. It's right within our own county, and it's our own league, and that'll be a good game as well.
Fast and physical, and of course, you've won state titles. Of this league.
Yeah,
Steve Fisher at Bethel.
Yeah, right, exactly. And then the volleyball team at Miami East got one just this year, and we've been ever so close to several teams of the regionals and the regional finals in the last 3 or 4 years. So we hope to do well for our conference and our local area teams as well.
Roger, it's great to talk to you, and of course you can follow all the coverage of the upcoming tournament as we talked about the Buckeye Insurance Holiday Classic here on Press Pros through the written word of the tournament, or our streaming broadcast of the games on the 28th and the 29th of December. Thanks for having. It's great to be here with you.
It's actually on the 29th and 30th.
Yeah, the 29th and 30th.
There we go. Yep. So better early than late. That's good.
I would rather be there a day earlier than a day late. Roger Kraft, the coach of the Covington Buccaneers, will be back next week with another edition of First Person, again sponsored by the Buckeye Insurance Group in Piqua and the Coverman Dickerson Agency representing Buckeye in Troy, Piqua, Covington, and St. Paris. Thanks again for joining us. See you next time here on First Person on PressProsMagazine.com.
If you are looking for quality insurance protection from a reliable company, sold by professionals, in communities like yours, that's what you'll get from Buckeye Insurance Group.
Buckeye Insurance Group, insuring the heartland.
To find your local Buckeye agent, visit buckeye-ins.com. Buckeye Insurance Group, insuring the heartland.
Insuring the heartland.